Hey, Foot Clan, before we get started, want to make sure everyone is aware of our DFS Pass at dfspass.com. It is the fantasy footballer's ultimate DFS Pass. If you play FanDuel or DraftKings, you get expert advice, weekly great pick articles for cash games, for big tournament plays, everything you need, including some really special, unique stats in there. Go to dfspass.com.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the Playdraft Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
We are back again.
It's a little musical.
Yeah,
We are back again.
I am just happy to have a voice.
Oh.
I thought it was going to be highly questionable today.
Oh, man, I could have hosted.
You got your time coming up.
I don't allow baseball talk on this podcast because that's nonsense. It's not even a real game.
How dare you?
But I got to be honest. I mean, as much as I love disparaging baseball.
You do love disparaging baseball.
It's pretty much a hobby of mine. I watched that whole game last night, that NL wildcard game. That was awesome.
Because playoff baseball is amazing. The problem with baseball is it's a 10,000 game
matters.
season. Yes, exactly.
I won. Who cares?
Yeah.
I'm on a 10-game losing. Who cares?
Yeah, we can come back from a 10-game losing streak.
Look, football is a quick flight to Hawaii. Baseball is a slow cross-country drive.
No,
you get to see all the sights, the highs, the lows.
Baseball is walking through the Mojave Desert where you're like, I'm going to die. I think, oh, that's pretty over there. I like that mountain. Now just nothingness, and I'm going to die again.
and we reached the oasis of,
and
of the playoffs.
Eventually, you get to a theme park. You're like, sweet.
I like the analogy. I was at the game with my 6-year-old boy and my parents and my sister, and we all lost our minds repeatedly and had a great time, and it was a lot of fun. So as the people in the studio who do not follow baseball say, go baseball. It was a very fun day. This show's not about baseball. This is about football, and we're jam-packed today. We've got the Week 5 matchups on the show today. Great quick question. Starts of the week, and I'm excited. Let's get right into it. You can follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers, by the way, and get all the latest news and information from the Fantasy Footballers and the podcast. All right, here we go. This quick question actually came in off of Twitter. He said, who could people be giving up on already that has the best chance to turn things around for a monster second half? And before you guys answer, I want to give you some examples from 2016, okay?
Okay.
Last year, through 4 weeks, this is the rank of some players that had a monster second half. Devontae Adams was the 72nd ranked wide receiver. He ended up the wide receiver 8. Golden Tate was the 93rd ranked wide receiver, ended up 19. Adam Thielen went 78 to 28. Tyreek Hill went from 73 to 22. Rashard Matthews went from 73 to 18. Julian Edelman went from 53 to 17. Dez Bryant went from 62 to 32 in that time span. And then you had guys like Jordan Howard and Jay Ajayi who went from 32 and 52 to 10 and 11.
Whew.
And so you had some monster changes that took place. Even Zach Ertz, 44 to 6 by season's end. So there will be players that fit this category of someone's given up on them. Maybe you buy them low. Maybe you're buying them off the waiver wire. But what do you do? Who are your picks for a monster second half?
Look, I'm going to go with a guy that has disappointed everybody for, I would say, the last solid year. That's Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say Brooks for a second.
What? Why?
I'm sorry, Brooks.
Oh, for
Shots
no
fired.
reason.
I'm just kidding.
Back that bus up and drive on over. Yeah, look, Amari Cooper is an uber-talented wide receiver who I believe plays for a high-powered offense. We just haven't seen that offense last few games. Granted, the last one, we expected that against Denver. He's going to finish the year in the top 25 wide receivers because he'll have monster big blow-up games. Right now, he's the wide receiver 71. That means his big blow-up games, they're coming the second half. And I don't expect them now. I just traded for Amari Cooper.
Are you playing him this
I bought
week?
low. I will say this. Unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
My advice to people,
Reluctantly.
I've got like 4 buys on my bench right now, so I'm forced to play him this week. Without Derek Carr, I am not. If you can sit Amari Cooper, despite me saying I think he's a second half of the year player, I still would.
I'm gonna go with an unpopular pick.
Yes, you are.
I still believe, Isaiah Crowell. I'm gonna go with Isaiah Crowell. I think this week specifically. Yeah. Spoiler alert. He's my start of the week this week.
It's a great matchup,
and the matchup is great. And it cannot get much worse for Isaiah Crowell, and he is still a starting running back in the NFL, one that I believe in the talent of, and I think that you're going to see improvement in his opportunity. And I'm going to tell you one of the reasons why. I think the defense in Cleveland is going to see some improvement, and I think that makes the games more competitive. And with the the growth of Deshaun Kaiser, I think you're going to have more opportunities for Crowell. And so, look, it's the bottom of the barrel right now, and I want his name out there because you can get him for cheap to free, probably on the waiver wire in some leagues, because people just he wasn't as high of draft capital as like a DeMarco Murray where people are holding on to him. There's a chance he's dropped in some leagues. So I think Isaiah Crowell actually has potential to have a good second half. So I'm going to throw his name out there. I know, Mike, you disagree, and that's very reasonable.
I'm very concerned about him, especially with the ascension of Duke Johnson, who he was in strong.
You mean the Cleveland Browns' number one
wide receiver? Yes.
Okay, go on.
He was in strong contention for my running back start of the week. The guy I'm going to go with is Mike Gillislee, because I know that the roller coaster is in full effect. You had the first 2 weeks, which were fantastic, and now with 2 dud games, people are they're furious. They're panicking. What do you do with Mike Gillislee? Well, here's some numbers. Mike Gillislee still has 54% of the carries for the New England Patriots. He has 6 carries inside the 5, which 4 of them have converted into touchdowns. No one else in that range of carries has that conversion. I mean, he's a touchdown guy. I believe long-term in the Patriots that they will get the defense figured out. I don't think this is going to be a take advantage of the Patriots' secondary situation all season long. Tonight, absolutely, I fully believe in it. But moving forward, I think that they will get things turned around, and Mike Gillislee will be the benefactor of it. Whenever they're in the 5, not whenever, because they've been doing a couple tricks, but the majority of the time inside the 5, it's going to Gillislee, and he's converted so much that eventually I believe that Belichick will just say, just pound it in. This is what we got to do.
All right, I like it. The week 5 rankings.
It's already week 5, Andy.
The week 5 rankings are up. See, Brooks, this is what I'm talking about.
Wait, he let you down? Did he give you week 3?
It said week 3 in there. He's giving me the look.
Oh, man.
I'm trying to back you up, Brooks.
He changed it, but luckily we have revision history, Brooks. And that'll be part of your review later.
Oh, we love you, Brooks.
Self-fulfilling insults on this show. All right, week 5 rankings are up on the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. Make sure you subscribe over on iTunes, wherever you're listening. We appreciate your support. And we're going to get right into the matchups.
Fantasy Forecast.
By the way, I am very excited for tonight's NFL matchup. It's going to be some good football.
Don't let us down.
Burner.
Don't let us down.
I don't think they can. There's just not enough defensive players out there to let us down here.
Thursdays are weird.
Thursdays
are weird.
We got a great one last Thursday.
Between 2 terrible teams, though.
Yeah, fair enough.
Although maybe not. Maybe the Rams are legit.
Sorry, that was
2
Thursdays ago. Yeah, I'm talking about the Rams 49er game. All right, Rob Gronkowski questionable, expected to play. So that's good. Might be limited a little bit.
You still play him. I mean, Gronk limited is better than 90% of the tight ends out there.
Without question. All right, the Bills take on the Bengals. The Bengals are 3-point favorites at home. Only a 39-point over-under in this game. I still think that there's a little bit we need to learn about the Buffalo defense that's been so good thus far through the season. You saw some cracks last week, but what do you expect to see? Let's start on the Cincinnati side. I know that Andy Dalton is not a popular stream because of the matchup, But what do the running backs do? Mixon, Bernard. Do you have any confidence starting any of them, even as a flex?
As a flex, my confidence would still be in Joe Mixon because I'm following the touches. He hasn't popped yet. He hasn't shown it. I'm not saying he's an automatic must-start guy, but if he's going to continue to get 20 touches, I don't love the matchup, but eventually you're going to break something off. You're going to get an opportunity to score. Even with the utilization he's had so far this year, you would expect that he would have had a touchdown by now. So I think Mixon is absolutely a flex-worthy, RB3 guy that you can play.
So just for context, last week Buffalo gave up 135 yards on the ground on 27 carries and a touchdown. So they have been beat on the ground thus far this year. Not that I'm expecting Mixon to do more against him than they did against Cleveland, but last couple of weeks giving up a touchdown on the ground to Denver as well. You're starting A.J. Green. Are you starting Tyler Kroft if Eifert is out?
I was going to bring him up, and no. Right now,
neither am I.
The Buffalo Bills are allowing 4.6 fantasy points per game to the tight end. So that's not a stream where I'm looking for. But granted, Tyler Kroft is going to be similar to Tyler Eifert when healthy. It's the touchdowns. So he could get 7 points. But that's factoring in he has scored a touchdown. So I'm going to pivot away from Kroft this weekend.
On the other side, Tyrod Taylor, LaShawn McCoy. You starting either of those options? I mean, McCoy you are.
Yeah.
Yes, McCoy's.
But what about Tyrod?
Tyrod Taylor is one of those guys where if you're looking for a streaming candidate because he runs so much, I think he's always got a safe baseline to be I'm always willing to scrape, the bottom of the waiver wire and go, hey, Tyrod's out there. I'll start him if I want something safe. I think his ceiling is a little capped with the matchup. Tyrod Taylor's usually better at home than on the road. He's on the road against a really good defense. So, I expect him to have 16 points because of his baseline rushing. That'll be serviceable, but not one of his big blow-up games.
Can't start a Bills wide receiver. The Bills throw to the wide receiver position the least in the entire NFL. I think it's about 5 receptions total per game across the entire wide receiver core.
Well,
so you can't touch him.
Charles Clay is
I was
going to
say, Charles Clay he's like an elite tight end now for fantasy purposes, and yet the Bengals, they're even stingier than the Bills when giving up points to the tight end. But at this point,
yeah, it's not a great matchup.
You
got
to play him, right?
Absolutely. It's not a great matchup for Charles Clay. I don't love it, but you have to play him because he's necessary. The Bills' offense can't work without Charles Clay.
Best. Mr. Necessary.
That's exactly what he is.
Predictions on the game, who wins? I'm taking the Bengals.
I'm going to take the Bills.
I'm going Bengals.
Okay. The Jets take on the Cleveland Browns. They're giving tickets away. All right, Cleveland. Well, I guess I should give respect where respect is due.
You should.
The 2-2 Jets.
They're tied with the Pats.
The Browns are 1-point favorites at home in this game. 39-point over-under.
Good for you, Cleveland. Good for you.
Myles Garrett going to make his debut for the Cleveland Browns this week. Part of why I think their defense will obviously improve over the later part of the year. Not that will translate to wins, but all right, let's start on that side of the ball. Deshaun Kaiser, Isaiah Crowell, we've talked about it. Mike, you like Duke Johnson this week. Are you playing roulette with any of the wide receiver options at all in
Cleveland? Oh, no.
Okay. I would say I would be willing to start Duke Johnson.
I love that these last two teams, Charles Clay and Duke Johnson, are the best receiving options.
It's really true.
It is. The Deshaun Kaiser's only completed 51% of passes right now. This matchup is, this is as much as you could hope for Kaiser at home against the Jets. The Jets' defense is 29th against the run. They've been okay against the pass.
The one thing I'll say in support of your Isaiah Crowell pick is the fact that this is a game that they should be in. Even if they're losing, I don't think they're going to be boat raced by the Jets, which gives the opportunity for carries. That's been, the problem with Isaiah Crowell is, he got 17 carries week 1. You go, okay, he didn't perform with it, but he's getting the touches. Well, last week he only got 7, and that's going to be a problem in those games where, they're not really in the game. Hugh Jackson has come out and said,
it's
he
so
still believes.
It's a joke on the show but it's you still can't get it right.
I can't ever say it
He's
right.
really Wolverine in your mind.
He came out and he said he loves Isaiah Crowell, so I think there is some support there.
Yeah, he said that a lot.
Yeah, to work against my pick, I believe that the Saints came out and said Peterson's about to break out today. So
That was the running back.
If you have to stream,
would you stream McCown?
I was going to say Kaiser or McCown.
I would stream McCown.
I would too. We need to show some respect for the second most accurate quarterback in the league.
70% of his passes completed.
Good
this
for
year.
you, McCown.
Yeah, I mean, I had my streaming option as Hoyer, much riskier, I think, than McCown. McCown is, I think he's an okay streamer this week.
The Browns' secondary is beatable. They're 23rd against the pass compared to the Jets, who are 7th. So I would go McCown if I'm streaming one of these options.
Matt Forte did not practice today. Bilal Powell, Elijah McGuire are both potential options.
Bilal Powell,
RB2 and
will
flex.
be talked about later.
Yeah, Bilal Powell is a definite start here. If Forte
I said he
out.
will be talked about later.
Fair enough.
And when it comes to McGuire, I'm much more hesitant. He doesn't get the same amount of touches, but I mean, we did
the
see
Bilal Powell zombie infection. You don't believe it? It's still
well,
over there?
look, Gio Bernard last week was able to catch a pass and take it to the house, one of those big plays. So Elijah McGuire could have the opportunity to do
8
that.
carries last week from McGuire. Very interesting. Austin Seferian-Jenkins.
Oh,
he's a start this week.
Great play this week.
I believe the Browns are at the basement in terms of points given up to the tight end position, right around 31 in the league. So
not good.
Yeah, the only team worse against the tight end so far for fantasy is the Giants.
Yeah.
And close second is the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. All right, the Panthers take on the Lions in Detroit. The Lions are 2.5-point favorites, a 43.5-point over-under. Not going to get into it, but you've got just the assortment of madness always surrounding Cam Newton, not talking to the media last week, and then the comments he made yesterday are
frustrating.
Yeah, immature,
frustrating,
ignorant, other things of that nature. So, not happy to see those things keep. He's got a problem with this media piece. But Newton last week, the monster week, Jason pumped the brakes on him. Takes on the Lions. The Lions defense right now is playing well because they're causing turnovers. They did it last week against Minnesota. In Minnesota, they come back home. I expect them to be able to hold up against this the Carolina offense in this game. What do you tell the Christian McCaffrey owner right now as they make start-sit decisions, trade decisions? What should their expectation be? Because you saw a little bit of the floor of McCaffrey's potential last week.
So you remind them that he's been targeted 29 times. That's second for running backs.
Yeah, I mean
that's what you tell them.
Yeah, well, here's the reality. We said this in the offseason, the fact that Christian McCaffrey might be the most talented player in the world, but they are not giving
He's
him –
a compliment.
Yeah,
right?
they're not just getting rid of Jonathan Stewart. He is really their number 2 running back and playing that third down, scat back, pass catching role in addition. So if you're in a PPR league, he's got a very, very safe floor. But you're going to – this is what you've seen out of him is what you're going to get. In our league of record, he's 10 points, 7 points, 16.7 points. That's you're going to have a guy that's probably going to average around 11 points, but be fairly consistent at it.
It's unfortunate that – well, first of all, would you play McCaffrey or Duke Johnson if you had to start one this week?
I think I'd play Duke.
I'd go McCaffrey still.
The thing about McCaffrey that I think is frustrating is simply his expectations as a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. When a team does that, you think, okay, well, this person, especially if it's a running back, you need to give them 15-plus touches every single week and give them a very featured role. So it's weird to have spent that pick and him just kind of be a compliment piece, especially at the running back position.
The Panthers have done it before.
We've talked about the rookie running backs and like Hunt, right? All the big plays from Hunt. You saw big plays from Cohen. You've seen big plays from Dalvin Cook. But then you've also had the kind of the inverse where, I mean, you read those numbers. They're not very different than Mixon's numbers. I mean, Mixon, McCaffrey, Pirine, they've never made a big play this year. I mean, that's basically the gist. You're waiting for them to break one off.
Yeah.
To go kick cat
McCaffrey
bar.
had one play where it was almost it was a huge yardage play, but he didn't score on it.
Kelvin Benjamin or Funchess? Who do you start?
I'm
still
I'm going to still go
Kelvin.
Or yes,
You're
Kelvin.
still going to go Fun.
I'm still going to go Kelvin.
I would too. Amir Abdullah, big week last week against Minnesota. I like Abdullah this week. I mean, if you've been starting him, keep starting him. Golden Tate disappointed me last week, but he's still the wide receiver to start in Detroit, is he not?
Yeah, certainly.
I would agree. Amir Abdullah, I mean, the guy's getting work. I mean, he had 2 of his past 3 games. He has over 85 yards on the ground.
He's essentially made Theo Riddick a problem. So if you own Theo Riddick, somebody said that he hit the waiver wire on Twitter, right? How much fab do I spend on Theo Riddick? I'm not excited about Theo Riddick with Abdullah active. So I would have told him a couple bucks at the most, and I don't know. There might be better options.
And you have Theo Riddick down here who has 21 targets on the year. That's less than Mark Ingram. That's less than Gurley, than James White. I mean, Theo Riddick, this is his specialty.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be in the top 3 in targets, yet you find yourself in just the middle of the pack.
Yeah, he's at best. I mean, most people right now would still have a hard time saying, okay, let me have Duke Johnson and get rid of Theo Riddick. But Duke Johnson's more involved than Theo
I'd
is.
make that shift.
We are going to hop into the 49ers and Colts matchup. Before we do that, we want to thank today's sponsor, Bombfell. All right, for most guys, maybe all guys, shopping can be a total pain.
It's the pits.
It's not good. And Bombfell is an easy way for men to get better clothes. That's the plain and simple fact. It is a online personal styling service that helps men find the right clothes for them. Simple, straightforward. All you have to do is complete a questionnaire, and a dedicated personal stylist handpicks your clothes for you, which is great. Once you've viewed the selections, you have 48 hours to make changes or even cancel altogether. You're in total control. This is all about ease. This is all about convenience, and you only pay for the clothes you keep. So they send them out, and you basically can get clothes every month, every 2 months, every 3 months, because they're on your side. They don't make money if they don't find you something you actually want to keep, because if you don't want it, you just send it back. And so I've tried this out. It's great. I've got great clothes. I've sent back stuff I don't want. I've kept the stuff I love. Best of all, we've negotiated with Bombfell to get our listeners a special offer of $25 off your first purchase when you go to bombfell.com/footballers. That's Bombfell, spelled BOMBFELL.com/footballers. Bombfell, open and clothes.
We want to thank Pristine Auction for sponsoring the show, the best sports memorabilia place in human existence. You got to log on to this website, Footclan.
Quite the claim.
Go check it out.
Facts are facts.
Yeah, you will find out that this is true. Speaking of Christian McCaffrey, they got a Christian McCaffrey jersey signed by Christian McCaffrey.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
Just saying.
Signed by Bob Hope.
It could have been signed by someone else, but Christian McCaffrey put his signature on here. You can go grab that every single day. They have new inventory. It's Christmas morning, really, when you jump onto Pristine Auction. There's new, exciting things every day. I mean, an Antonio Brown signed jersey, get that on the wall. We've got Jay Ajayi rocking on the wall in the studio right now. So head over to Pristine Auction. That's PRISTINE auction.com. You make a completely free account. You let them know that the Fantasy Footballers sent you. And when you bid on things, if you don't win, you don't pay. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I would hate to not win and then pay.
There's bidding sites out there that charge you to bid.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
All right, we're going to move on to this next matchup. I'm going to throw something out there right now. A little bit of breaking news. Kenny Britt, he's been repeatedly condemned by Hugh Jackson. He did not practice today. It's Thursday. Knee, groin injury. Maybe he was punched in the groin by Hugh Jackson after his performance.
Verbally.
I'm going to throw Ricardo Lewis out as a deep sleeper this week. I think you can play Ricardo Lewis in.
He's getting this. He's already been getting the snaps. He's just not getting.
He had a good game last week. Ricardo Lewis had, I believe, 7-8 targets, 6 catches last week. I think you have an opportunity in a juicy matchup where last week, he had 5 for 64.
Okay.
And if Kenny Britt's off the field, I just want to throw him out there. He's one of those deep, sneaky, your opponent thinks you're stupid, and then maybe it works out for you type of plays.
All right.
The 49ers take on the Colts. Boy, you have some interesting matchups this week, don't you?
The
bottom of the barrel is playing one another in several games. You know, the Browns and the Jets, and now the 49ers Colts. Colts are 1.5-point favorites at home, 44.5-point over-under. I thought about making Brian Hoyer my start of the week this week. Mike, you brought up a point in the office yesterday that Brian Hoyer and I believe one other quarterback are the only ones to have faced top 15 passing Ds in all 4 weeks. Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
And so Hoyer has had he's shown signs of life at times. Now, I know, Jason, you don't like the fact that he's probably not going to have Marquise Goodwin in this one.
Right, I don't, because of the fact that you have one good defender across the field. You know, if you look at the Colts secondary, you've got Vontae Davis, he's great. And then just exploitable options galore. So you just need two weapons, you know, if you're the Niners. And right now they've got one, Pierre Garçon. Pierre Garçon will probably be –
they got Hyde.
Well, sure, you know, some dump-offs from the backfield, that's somewhat, you know, helpful if he gets 2 or 3 receptions. But, you know, who's going to step up? Could it be George Kittle?
Aldrick Robinson.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have somebody step up. But this is a matchup where Hoyer – look, if the offenses come out and sputter and they're terrible and it's a low-scoring, boring game, you're not going to get much value out of it, obviously. But this is the type of game where if the defenses can't stop each other, just like we saw with San Francisco and the Los Angeles Rams a few weeks ago, we have plenty of history of Brian Hoyer throwing 350-yard games, multi-touchdowns. That's why I made him my stream of the week, because while he's risky, I mean, he could be pulled in this game if he sucks. His upside, is that top 6 type quarterback.
You know what they could use right now? Bruce Ellington.
Seriously.
They could really use him.
Yeah.
That would be nice. All right, Carlos Hyde, you're starting him.
Yep, absolutely.
The Colts side of the ball, it's nice. I mean, Frank Gore, it's a great matchup for Frank Gore, the 49ers.
And he gets his center back.
Yeah, he gets his center back, and he's been fine. What do you do with T.Y. Hilton in this matchup?
Okay. T.Y. Hilton is, he's
Colts
a
are 29th against the pass.
And I also think that Moncrief is a flex-worthy start. Jack Doyle right now still in the concussion protocol. If he doesn't play, I think that's going to lift up Moncrief at home. And we can even throw out Jacoby Beef Brisket.
Oh, I love it. As a streamer.
Absolutely. I mean, you've seen one game where he's faced subpar defense. Now he's at home with a bad defense. He could rush in another touchdown, throw for a –
Hilton has one of the best wide receiver cornerback matchups of the week. So I like him. I think he's a solid wide receiver 2 start.
Because we aren't getting into the Packer game on today's show, I do want to update people with regards to Ty Montgomery and Devontae Adams.
Oh, my goodness. And Jamal Williams.
Montgomery practiced again today. He's wearing a protective vest for his ribs. Mike, you said Jamal Williams. He says he's going to be good to go.
He was a full practice, so you have to expect he's good to go.
And Devontae Adams is still in the concussion protocol, but will be doing more on the field today. We don't know whether he's going to be in the lineup or not.
Do you think he plays at this point?
If I had to guess, it's a yes.
Okay.
Because all he has to do is clear.
Right.
I mean, that's what we're looking at there. I don't think there's anything physically lingering outside of clearing the protocol.
Man, I hope he's not cleared for his sake.
You think he needs a week off?
Yeah, I mean, you see it all the time when you get those kind of knockout concussions in MMA. Guys are suspended for a couple months just for safety reasons.
The thing is that the reality of concussions is that you can have plays that look that way where guys aren't concussed, and then you can have plays that are completely benign.
Yeah,
and then they have, and somehow those benign ones are 3-week concussions. So I don't know it. When you look at it, you want to tell them,
hopefully we could just trust the doctors
take
here,
a seat.
And they'll do what's right.
Take a break. Titans, Dolphins.
Here's the injury of the week.
There is no line because we don't know what Mariota's going to do in this game.
The injury of the week is Marcus Mariota because he affects everything here. If Mariota is fine and playing, I really love this matchup. I love Mariota. I like Rashard Matthews.
Yeah, Matthews.
I like the running game. I like Delaney Walker. I mean, I'm really hopeful that he's going to be there. It's not just because I have him, in our league of record and no other option right now. But if I had to guess, I have to guess that he's going to miss. I mean, they're going right now in practice and having him and the backup practice as starters, and then they sign – who'd they sign? Whedon?
Yes.
And that is always – you just follow, okay, not what's being said but what's being done. And the backup right now is getting first-team reps, and they signed another quarterback as depth. Those things point to Mariota not being able to play.
It is a tough situation. I think that you have to downgrade everybody if Mariota's off the field. the biggest, we talk about the Patriots defense as a surprise. The Titans defense is a surprise to me as well. I mean, they're terrible right now. They've allowed 30 points a game, second worst in the league, 11 touchdown passes. That's most in the NFL given up.
Ooh.
I know. Look, Jay Cuddy.
Smoking
I'm not playing Jay Cuddy.
I'm not either.
He's told me not to. Now, the thing is Jarvis Landry and Devontae Parker become very, very interesting when you have a quarterback like Jay Cutler and an offense that, unlike Buffalo, who averages 5 receptions, Cutler only throws to the wide receivers. And he's only got, Landry, Parker, Stills. We're going to talk about Devontae Parker later in the show. Let's put it that way. Jay Ajayi, there are mixed opinions about Jay Ajayi. Do you light him up in this game?
Yeah, you have.
I mean, the Titans' defense is terrible.
Yeah, you have to play him if you have him. But I have those stewing concerns, and because this is a great matchup. If Jay Ajayi falters again in this matchup, then I think people will be smashing that red alert button.
If you don't have concerns, then you're wearing blinders. There's definitely concerns. However, my expectation is that it will get fixed. I mean, we saw this through a couple weeks last year. The Dolphins were an absolute dumpster fire, and Gase finally said, you know what, this is on me. I got to change things up. He took a look at how he was coaching, said we need to get Jay Ajayi more touches. I see a similar thing about to happen here, and so my expectation for Jay Ajayi is a top 12 week.
Are you more concerned this year about Ajayi or DeMarco Murray?
Ooh.
I think I'm more concerned with DeMarco Murray, only because of the backup situation. Just because there is really no other option in Miami. I guess throw the ball. But Damian Williams is one of the worst running backs that's ever lasted this long in the NFL. But over on the other side, you've got Derrick Henry, who's getting more and more involved. So, concerns with both, but I expect both to have – they were, in consideration for the quick question of the day.
If you want a little bit of the reasoning why Jay Cutler has been terrible this year, look at 2 numbers. He's in the top 5 in deep pass percentage, and his average yards per completion is the second lowest in the NFL. So that means every time he's trying to extend the ball down the field, he is not completing those downfield passes. He's smoking Jay Cuddy, flinging it around, and only completing the short passes, not the long ones. So I feel like he needs to rein that in a little bit if they want to turn it around in Miami and give those pass catchers a chance to be fantasy relevant.
You know what Jay Cutler would tell you if you said that to him?
Nothing. I don't care.
Care.
All right, the Chargers take on the Giants. Giants and Chargers winless. So this continues the theme of bad teams playing one another, at least through these 4 weeks, bad teams.
Someone's got to win.
The Giants
stunning analysis.
We could get a tie out of this one.
I was gonna say.
3.5-point favorites are the Giants, 44.5-point over-under. This is one of those games that I really think could get exciting. I mean, the Chargers' run defense has been bad. The Giants' run defense has been bad. The Giants' pass defense has given up big plays. And they have a ton of weapons that I think will be able to, at home, capitalize against the Chargers. So this is one of those games where I think you can start both quarterbacks. When you're looking at the running backs, they said this morning, Wayne Gallman, if he gets hot, if things go well, they're going to ride him in this game.
Yeah, I would expect Gallman to be the starter.
And so Gallman would be the one. If you're on a bye, you got a bye week play.
I did not have the courage nor the insanity to make Wayne Gallman my start of the week because the Chargers are the 31st defense against the run in terms of giving up rushing yards. I thought about it, though. I had a fleeting moment where I thought, the matchup is so good for Wayne Gallman. Then I said, no, let's pass on that.
Yeah, I really do like the Giants in this game. Obviously favored at home, but this is an entire cross-country trip for the Los Angeles Chargers, and I think that's going to be difficult. I mean, they've already got a bad run defense. They're going across the country. If Gallman can wear them down, I think he is one of those guys that you could take that glory play, be like, I beat you with Wayne Gallman. I called my shot. I love Eli Manning. We'll talk about him in a minute. I really like – I do worry more about the Chargers side.
As do I. So the Giants' run defense is porous right now. If Melvin Gordon has another bad game, are you going to have that Jay Ajayi concern?
No.
Or is it just, I'm just going to shrug it off?
Melvin Gordon hasn't been bad. He's been good. He didn't get enough touches last game because he was dealing with a knee injury. So I have no concerns over Melvin Gordon right now.
When you look at Melvin Gordon this year, when you look at 10-plus rushing yards versus attempt, what percentage of their plays went for 10-plus yards? Other than Kareem Hunt, who, by the way, is at 22% of his rushing attempts at 10-plus yards.
He's nasty.
Ridiculous.
Melvin Gordon's at 18.5%. So the logic to me, it stands to reason that he will take advantage of more carries. He breaks tackles, and he has 10 rushing attempts over 10-plus yards this year. So if they give him the rock, especially in this matchup, I think you're going to see a very good game from Melvin Gordon.
What? That's crazy to me.
What is?
Hearing that stat that
So
Melvin
10
Gordon,
of his 54 carries have been for 10 or more yards.
So then
The rest
of them
yeah.
are for like 0 yards because he's at 3.1 on the year.
He's always been
that's
one of
crazy.
those, break a big play and you go, I don't want to rely on that. But
Yeah.
he does it often enough where
Sure,
that's where some
can't
of those
argue with the
touchdowns are
numbers.
going to come from.
Yeah, I mean, if you the other top 5, if you're curious, Jordan Howard is third with 9 of his 63. LeGarrette Blount, 6 of his 42 over 10 yards. And then Carlos Hyde, 9 of his 65 carries over 10 yards. By the way, Kareem Hunt is 15 of 68.
Kareem Hunt is
Yeah.
he's very good.
DeMarco Murray is at the basement. Lamar Miller at the basement. Chris Johnson, Ty Montgomery. All right, Evan Ingram, can you start him in this game?
Absolutely targeted 30 times this season. That's the second most for tight ends.
Love it.
Evan Ingram, it's shocking to see a rookie tight end having this kind of an impact on an offense, but here we are. He should have been drafted as a pass catcher. You had this whole offseason nonsense where the team was insistent that Evan Ingram was going to be a prototypical tight end blocking.
You can't fool
If you
me.
studied any tape of Evan Ingram in college, it was a bit comical. Like if you threw the Benny Hill theme song in over Evan Ingram blocking highlights, you go, yeah, this makes sense. So that fact that they're just saying, screw that crap, Evan Ingram, you're a mismatch for secondaries, that's fantastic.
Shepard or Marshall if you had to start one?
Shepard
as well.
Cardinals take on the Eagles. The Eagles are almost a touchdown favorite at home in this game. 45-point over-under. Mike, you said yesterday Carson Palmer is on pace to set a record for passing attempts?
I said that, yes. He is.
Jason may have said that.
He is on pace to break the NFL record for most passing attempts. That's
not good.
No, that is not good. There's a reason he's taken so many sacks.
There's a reason he's 51% completion percentage, too.
There's a reason we love the Philadelphia defense this week. They're going to get sacks. There's just no bones about it. Alex Boone is theoretically hopeful for this week, so that'll improve their offensive line.
Theoretically hopeful?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying I don't believe his injury.
Where does that put him?
I don't – where it puts him is the word out of Cardinals camp is that he is, on pace to start
Okay.
week 5, and I'm saying hogwash, his injury.
Okay, so you're calling this a Mike Upati situation.
Yeah, I don't.
Where
I don't
100%
exactly
not going to play.
Yes, that's where it was theoretically hopeful, but I don't buy it.
I'll
Two
follow it now.
layers of maybe in order to get him on the field.
Maybe it's Mailbag.
Chris Johnson, Kerwin Williams, or Andre Ellington.
Ellington.
Okay.
I'm not playing Chris Johnson.
Larry-
This is one of those situations where I don't care about Chris Johnson's running back touches. I don't care if he's getting more than 10 carries a game.
The Eagles are 30th against the pass this year. Palmer is averaging 45 pass attempts per game. Fantasy points should be scored out of the wide receiver core of Arizona. Larry, J.J. Nelson, John Brown,
We're
Jerron
going to
Brown.
talk about Jerron a little bit later.
Are we really?
Oh, very
All right.
nice. I was going to ask how you would a lot of times I get the question and people want to know, how do you right now, this week, what would you rank the Jerron Brown, John Brown, J.J. Nelson trifecta? How do you order that for, starts?
Fitz would still be my number one.
No, just the other three.
Then it's clearly Jerron.
Right,
At the
Jerron.
top.
And then do you go J.J. John or John J.J.?
John J.J., as
John.
long as he's active.
It's a lot of J's.
And that's just this week. I think John Brown's if he continues to be active, he's going to usurp John Brown in my
he
fantasy
should,
rankings.
yes.
Carson Wentz, is he startable in this matchup against the Cardinals, who are currently the 12th ranked pass D, 10th ranked run D?
Yeah, I mean, it's a stingy defense, but
He might not have Alshon Jeffrey to his disposal very often because of Patrick Peterson.
yeah. So do you pivot away? Do you play? You think like Aguilar?
No.
Yeah,
And you don't play Torrey Smith either. It's Zach Ertz or
Okay.
bust in that passing offense. Maybe you see more passing targets for Wendell Smallwood in this game because of Patrick Peterson being out there. And I'm not super excited about Eagles' options in this game.
I'm not either. I believe LeGarrette Blount is actually a decent play this week, but the passing options when you look at Carson Wentz, if he doesn't have Alshon easily open because of Patrick Peterson, and you've got the 5th ranked team against tight ends here going for to bottle up Zach Ertz, if those weapons are gone, then I really don't love Carson Wentz this week.
Nelson Aguilar's only been targeted 18 times on the year. So he's averaging near the top at fantasy points per target, but it's limited. You're playing with fire the same way you'd be playing with Torrey Smith. You're hoping for one pass for 80 yards and a touchdown. But Zach Ertz, you definitely start him. And look, that's it for these matchups that we're breaking down today. We're going to get into the starts.
Starts of the week.
All right, we're going to get into the rest of the matchups on tomorrow's episode, so make sure you don't miss that. Let's start here with the quarterback position. Jason, who do you have as your start of the week?
Yeah, I talked about it with the Los Angeles
I love
Chargers flying across the country. Eli Manning at home. Eli Manning has played pretty darn good, especially since he's got Odell Beckham back. I mean, as the Giants go is as Odell Beckham goes. If he is, fully healthy and ready for this game, which
He will not be fully healthy, but he will play.
as healthy as he was, the last 2 weeks at least. When he was missing week 1, you saw an albatross for Eli Manning. He sucked. When he played a couple of snaps in week 2, it was like, okay, he got a little better. Then he's there for the Philly game. He throws 366 yards, 3 touchdowns. Last week at Tampa Bay, that was a great performance by Eli Manning, 288 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now he's at home with Odell Beckham. You've got a beatable matchup for Evan Ingram. You have Sterling Shepard and Brandon Marshall looking like they're coming into form, and you might have a running game with Wayne Gallman against a team that can be thrown on and scored on. So I love Eli Manning this week.
I'll jump in now because I've got his opposition in this game, and I know you guys were not bullish.
That's bold.
I like Phillip Rivers. The Giants are giving up a ton to fantasy quarterbacks this year, and Rivers is coming right off of a 340-plus yard game. We know that he has the ability to put the yards up. And I think this battle of the winless, I think it ends up being a shootout. I think I like what I saw from Rivers last week. He has the weapons. And, look, I don't think the Chargers are going to be able to do enough to stop the Giants in this matchup, meaning that Rivers will have to be coming back in this game. So if he can control the turnovers, I think both of the quarterbacks in that matchup are a good start.
And my quarterback start of the week is because I called dibs on him last
Softball.
week in the middle of the week, and that's Jameis Winston. Because, look, Foot Clan, there's only one team allowing more than 24 points a game to the quarterback per week. There's only one team allowing more than 25 points per week. In fact, there's only one team that's allowing more than 26 points per week to the quarterback position, and that is the New England Patriots. I'm firing up Jameis Winston with absolute full confidence. A top 5 performance from Winston this week is not out of the realm of possibilities.
Love it. All right, let's move on to the running back position. Mike, why don't you kick it
Sure.
off? Who's your start of the week?
I'm going to stay in these flames with Blau Plow here, and that's Bilal Powell.
Yeah, thank you.
From the
Blau.
from the New York Jets.
Blah, blah.
The last 2 years, games without Forte active, Bilal Powell averages double the fantasy points, over 20 points a game in a PPR scoring system. Gets a nice matchup against the Cleveland Browns, so I'm playing him with full confidence.
Okay. I'm going to go with Isaiah Crowell. I talked about it earlier. I know it's bold. I know I'm putting myself out there, but the matchup is incredible. This is the 1 week where he can get it going. The Jets, look, they've given up 120-plus yards on the ground to the running back position in 3 or 4 weeks. They give up an extra 5 fantasy points to running backs compared to the mean. And this game could be competitive a lot longer than any of the Browns games have been thus far. So I'm going to take Isaiah Crowell when I can start him, and that is this week. I want to give fantasy owners the ability to have a little bit of confidence in starting Isaiah Crowell.
Yeah, for me this week, it's going to be Frank Gore.
Yeah, I tried to get Frank Gore.
Frank Gore, look, he's at home. He's favored. The last game that was at home, usually right now Frank Gore is a guy that you try to bench, with the Andrew Luckless Colts. If it's a difficult matchup like last week in Seattle, you didn't necessarily want to play him. He was all right. He got 12 for 46, caught 3 receptions, caught 3 targets as well. But if you look 2 weeks ago when they were at home in a favorable matchup against Cleveland, he got 25 carries. And now they're at home against an even worse run defense for fantasy purposes against San Francisco. So I'm not saying, hey, he's going to be a top 5 guy, but these are the weeks where you go, I need to plug him in because he's going to get 20-plus carries, that opportunity at a touchdown. And, if Marlon Mack is out, I do think this is a team in the San Francisco 49ers that can be beat by the pass-catching running back.
6th most fantasy points to running backs. Ryan Kelly is back, the center, which is a huge upgrade to that run game.
Wide receiver start of the week, I'm going with Devontae Parker. Again, look, the Tennessee.
It's a three-peat for Devontae Parker.
It is. The Tennessee defenses have given up 2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns to fantasy wide receivers. Cutler throws to no one more than the wide receiver position. I believe 27 targets a game to wide receivers is his average thus far. And look, this is the time to finally be able to exploit a defense that gives up 10-plus more fantasy points on average to fantasy wide receivers. So Devontae Parker, I think he gets in the end zone this week. I think it's a great week to start him.
I'm going to throw out Jerron Brown. I alluded to it earlier.
That's a bold call.
And the reason is the Philly DBs are giving up points. Philadelphia is allowing the 3rd most fantasy points to wide receivers. Match that with Arizona's giving up some points to their wide receivers. I think that there could be a lot of points that end up being scored in this game. And Jerron Brown, the past 2 weeks, 93+% of snaps. They're going to have to get the ball out quickly, like we talked about with the pass rush, and I think that favors Jerron Brown. So I think that he is a very solid start this week.
For me, I'm going with Randall Cobb. There's a lot of question marks in Green Bay right now. I mean, everything is looking well. I still don't believe Ty Montgomery's going to play. And if Ty Montgomery doesn't play, Randall Cobb, I think, is a necessary outlet for short passes. We've seen Cobb utilized in that way. Whether or not Devontae Adams plays, to me, I'm starting Randall Cobb. This is a game that has a 52.5-point over-under in Vegas. Should be a lot of points scored. I'm not afraid of Dallas's secondary, and Randall Cobb has just been too involved. He's utilized near the goal line.
I love it.
There's a high-power offense. You got to start him.
I love it. All right, Mike, who's your – oh, my goodness. Who's your tight end start of the week?
Andy's laughing because
what?
Because
oh, yes.
My tight end start of the week.
Get out of here.
Is Hunter Henry.
Oh, he's dead to you.
The matchup, and if you could see my notes right now.
I love your notes.
My note is the emoji with the sideways
like
frown.
The resistant.
But I gotta lean into this matchup. The Giants are allowing the most points to tight ends. The most fantasy points to tight ends.
I picked him up, and I'm starting him in one of my leagues already.
Mike, you wrote the goose is loose.
The goose is loose because this is the time for the goose egg.
Can we call him the goose?
We absolutely.
That has to be Hunter Henry's nickname, the goose himself.
I am fine with calling him Goose. And the Henry Truthers, if you stayed the course, this is where you plug him in.
Unbelievable.
Oh, man.
Well, I've got the other side of that matchup, Evan Ingram. We talked about him. This game's poised to be a shootout. Last week, the Giants D gave up 5 for 81 to Zach Ertz. Ingram should be able to stretch the field the way Zach Ertz does. And I think, like Mike said, the targets are enough reason to start Evan Ingram this week. Yes. I like him a lot.
Yeah, for me, it's Austin Seferian-Jenkins, a guy you could still find on many waivers, which
I scooped him up in the middle of the week.
Let's be honest.
In my money league.
Yeah, if you've been listening here, you probably have Austin Seferian-Jenkins if he's owned. It's probably you that's picked him up. But this week, Cleveland and the New York Giants, those two teams have just not been able to remotely stop tight ends at all, and it's a good matchup. Austin Seferian-Jenkins pretty much leading them in targets since he's gotten back from his suspension.
They let go Will Tye.
The combination of the matchup and the need and the talent, everything points to me starting Seferian-Jenkins. Along with that is how few tight ends you can feel confident starting.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it. All right, now for the most important segment of the week.
Jason Moore's ironclad, locked and loaded, 100% guaranteed boom boom kicker of the week.
Now, Jason, you're going to need to step up your game. I know that you watch 6 to 8 hours of film on kickers each week, but you got to step it up.
Why are you saying that, Andy?
Because Dan Bailey didn't do it for me last week.
All right. Well, guess what? My boom boom kicker of the week this week, Dan Bailey.
That's not what the notes say.
Nope, is an audible.
You want to know why it's an audible? Because you just signed him in our League of Records.
You're darn right I did. I signed him.
Because I dropped him.
I'm starting him. He's at home. He's a great kicker, a great over-under. He's favored at home.
It's not what the notes say.
Bailey.
All right.
Book it.
Mailbag.
Mailbag, yo!
All right, I did want a chance to jump into the mailbag, answer some listener questions. Always like helping the Foot Clan. You can call our voicemail hotline, 302-464-TFFB, if you have a question.
Bailey.
You can also submit a question on the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. Let's go ahead and take a second and answer a voicemail.
Hey, guys. Absolutely love the show. Just wondering if you would trade Devontae Freeman for Doug Martin and Joe Mixon. Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work.
Oof.
All right, so Devonta Freeman's on the bye this week, and then you've got Doug Martin coming back off the suspension.
Heck yeah, I would.
Okay.
Oof. That's a no for me. I will take a top 5 known running back asset instead of these mystical beans that could grow into a giant vine that I can climb to a castle, and I'll take the top 5 running back.
I still believe in Doug Martin, who's
That's
been a top
fine.
5 running back, who is also past his bye. You're stealing a week here when you get rid of a player on his bye for a player who's past his bye. And then you add the opportunity and depth at a really important position that's difficult to have that with the upside of Joe Mixon. I get your argument. Look, sometimes studs, they're worth more than 5 other players because of what they could do in one position.
I'm actually going to hedge a little bit here. If your team is cruising, I don't do this deal. If it's not, you need a week. The buy is here. I make the move.
If you're trying to manufacture, you have to win this weekend. Then maybe
I will say
I'll go along
Freeman's touches, like his efficiency, scoring wise, I think it's going to come down a little bit in the second half. I mean,
I feel like that's the comment made about Devontae Freeman for the past 3 years.
Fair enough. Next question.
Kind of is.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt from Seattle, Washington. Just wondering if it's okay to start Sammy Watkins and Gurley the same week. They play Seattle this week, so I'm just curious. Thanks. Love the show. Bye.
I would try to avoid it in that specific matchup situation.
I would try to avoid playing Sammy Watkins as well.
All right.
Gurley, at this point, you gotta see what he can do against Seattle. But there's no way I'm playing Watkins.
This question comes in from Kenneth in Bonjour, Canada.
Oh, bonjour.
Hey, guys, what are your thoughts on Amendola or John Brown rest of the season?
Danny Amendola is great, but how many games will you get out of him? Who knows?
He also said he loves the show, and his kids now love it, too, and it's become a daily ritual.
Oh, what's up, children? From Bonjour, Canada.
Yeah, both these guys are good when healthy and not super
Who would you
healthy.
rather have?
I'd much rather have Danny Amendola.
As would I.
Have you been out to Bonjour, Canada? Have you seen the sights?
I flew over it.
Did you? You flew over it.
I think.
He yelled out the window, bonjour!
Here's the trick, though. It's a trick question because
Open window.
we were in Canada. That means we flew over Bonjour, Canada, because it's just the entire country.
That's right. Yeah, any foreign land is Bonjour land.
I mean, they all do. They all speak French, right?
Sure.
That is it for today's episode of the show. Come back tomorrow for a ton of great matchup. We'll get through the rest of the matchups and have a lot more on the show tomorrow, including our In and Out segment where we'll let you know about injuries and things of that nature. Check out jointhefoot.com for our fantasy football community. And don't forget to come play with us over on Draft. You can go to draft.com/ballers. That's easy. Come play with us.
It's easy.
Draft.com/ballers. Thanks for listening. Talk to you tomorrow.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.